Today, David and I reintroduce ourselves to a place that holds fond memories for many. Originally in Jonesboro, then Lumpkin, now being reimagined in Columbus. You buy tickets and see the gift shop in a building previously not open to the public. Everything is, of course, 1800s rustic. In the back, they have the History of section. They have artifacts, histories of notable people involved, and bits and pieces of bygone elements of construction. I had always thought Westville was meant to suggest Western, but that's not the case. The place was started by a guy named West. This piece tells the story. I love it already.
It's kind of retrofitted the new with the old, like the light fixtures up top, you know,
Oh, yeah.
notices,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the registers.
Once you get a ticket, you walk down to the town. This is the way it was at Lumpkin. You would check into the building and then you'd have to like walk down the trail into the town.
Yeah. Even though these houses have been retrofitted with electricity, that's because we're living in modern times, and plus they want us to keep them secure when there's no one here. But in a community like this, you would have had many sounds. Right now you're hearing the sounds of progress. Once they get this all put together and landscaped real nice, you won't see all these ruts out here from vehicles, because there won't be any vehicles in here, because at that time they didn't have vehicles. Oh, shiplap on the walls. That's about as original as you can get, folks. But they did a good job, because if you look here, this is the original siding and this is the recreation. And then once it's painted, mean, if you take a profile look of it, let me get you around here, profile look. Once it's painted, you're not going to be able to tell the difference from old and new, really. But this is a beautiful home. Look at this, a double fireplace. 2 double fireplaces, one on either side. This church is magnificent. I'm going to show you something here. I want to walk you around the inside of it. Then I want to show you the neatest part of this church. You know, they designed that to look, I guess, like a stained glass window there that's kind of a 3D effect. Look at the ceiling of this church. How they did this. And it looks like they just took and smoked with probably with a torch or something, smoked that image in there once they painted it.
Now back to today. I got to say that one of my concerns was always that they were not going to bring all the structures to Columbus. Like there's a log cabin and there's like a syrup mill, and there's some things that, you know, you fear that they might be like, well, that's just junk, let's just leave that here and just bring the pretty building. But it looks like they actually want to bring everything.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah.
We'll get a closer look. I'll say right here that they didn't translate everything the same way it was in Lumpkin, and there are people that aren't happy about the whole affair. But I'm here to shoot what exists today and what you can visit. We'll start our exploration in the boot shop as we explore the grounds.
I don't think the boot store is open today. Oh, is it open? Oh, okay.
Wow.
Oh, there is a boot store. Okay. Hello.
Hey, how's it going? How are you all doing today?
Good, and you?
Doing well.
Doing pretty well, pretty well. You all can actually go ahead.
So you were the shoemaker for the town, huh?
Yes, that's me. As long as you all promise not to touch anything, there's a little
Oh, yeah.
patch right there. And you can pull it up and take a look around a little bit closer if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, have y'all been here before?
Not since they've opened it this way. We have them in Lumpkin when they were there.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I was doing a lot of filming here when they were building it here. Because I just live up in the neighborhood up the street.
Oh, gotcha. Well, nice to have you all back.
Nice to be here. This is my first time here in this location.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks nice.
Yeah, the upstairs of this building was used as a living space, but it was used for the family's boys. The rest of the family lived next door.
Oh, okay.
And so these two houses were a pair, and they
Oh,
were
okay.
originally built next to each other.
The emergency warning system rattles our ears as we make our way to the Springer house.
we show quilting. So during this time period, quilts were very utilitarian. As the period went on, became more decorative and became really more of an art form. But earlier you could use them not just on your beds, but also people would put them over like doors and over windows to try to keep drafts out. Typically 3 layers. So you have your bottom layer, which is usually plain, and then you have your middle layer, which during this time period would have been cotton. So you can kind of see how it looks like before you put it
The
in.
batting type of.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, in modern days, the same thing. It's just weaving. I mean, a different pattern to it, I guess.
Definitely, yeah.
It's more synthetic nowadays, I guess, than.
It is, yeah. Usually it's made out of plastic. Which is during this time period, one of the ways you can tell the stitches is they're very small and close together, and it's to try to keep the batting
Right.
from separating.
Separating, right.
So today you don't really need those really close together stitches because it is synthetic and it is in one piece.
Wow.
It is. You have a volunteer that made that. So that's very close to being finished. It just needs to have binding put around the edges. That painting. So that is the mother of the man who built this house.
What's the singer?
The Singer family.
Wow.
So Johann Singer is the man who built the house.
But
and this
no
is
relationship
Barbara.
to the people with the sewing machines, correct?
No, no relation.
Just happen to have a similar, same name. Same
Exactly. Yes.
I mean, it was kind of funny when you do thinking of sewing and the singer, but they're not related whatsoever.
No. They came over from Germany, so they were immigrants. They lived in Maryland for a few years before coming south, which is very common with immigrants during the 1800s.
Right.
You see all the land opening up because of forced removal, and so as that happened, land's up for grabs essentially, and so you see a lot of settlement down south. And that spinning wheel is actually Barbara's. She brought it with her from Germany.
Wow.
Wow, so that's the actual original one.
Yep, yeah, that's original.
Amazing.
It's fascinating. So this would have been the mom and dad's room, Mr. and Mrs.
Yes,
Singer,
exactly.
and baby Singer.
And baby, yes. So the youngest would have stayed in here with the parents. We do have a quilt here that has a whole bunch of designs from the period on it.
Okay.
It's a reproduction, but
Right.
all of the different patterns. So it's just kind of a sample to show what patterns would have been used. Let's see. This was made by one of the singers. It's tin and hand stamped.
Oh.
I don't know which singer made it, but I do know a member of the family made it.
Wow.
It's all wooden inside.
Okay.
This is your bathtub.
Yep.
So generally you would sit in it with your legs kind of over, and you kind of almost do a sponge bath kind of thing. You have to try to heat up your water as much as possible before kind of dumping on yourself. Today, you'd have to also wear something, if you're a woman, a shift, which is your first layer. It's just kind of plain white cotton, and you can change that every day, and it kind of absorbs your oils and it protects your clothing from your skin.
And the old bedpan.
Yes,
In
you
the
do.
middle of the night, you didn't have to go running over to the church. You could go to the
Exactly.
bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah, things like that.
Well, at least have a fireplace if you get cold.
Definitely, and we do use them. In here would have been the original dining room.
Okay.
In order to be wheelchair accessible, we don't have it set up to be that way.
Right.
Here, one of the unusual things about this house is that they have a cellar
Okay.
Oh.
to store food, and that's probably because they're German and it's a very common thing
Right.
architecturally in Germany. But
So they still have a cellar in this one, or they just?
no,
They
when the
never
house
re-
was
but it
moved,
did have access to a cellar at one time.
they did. This would have been the girls' bedroom.
Very small.
Very small, yes. So multiple kids to a bed.
Yeah.
And once your older sister got married and moved out, you have a little bit more room.
So I assume there was a lot of little sisters trying to get their older sister married off. Wow.
And there would have been parlor, sitting room, kind of your family room today.
That's what this would have been?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty.
It is.
Wow. This is just an introduction to an incomplete attraction. I have childhood memories of Westville, precious memories. But they built a highway around Lumpkin and attendance fell off, I guess. This move may very well have saved it for future generations to enjoy. And even different, it's nice. The courthouse stands stately in the middle. There are numerous displays from old Westville.
I remember this place was down Westville.
Oh yeah,
Maybe eventually they'll get to move it here.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think this is the house we went into, me, you, and Rob.
Oh yeah. So this is a cool building. Next time.
So we're actually going to run through the entire textile production, starting, of course, with cotton.